Welcome to Dividing Divots. I'm Chris. Today I'm going to go through my 2025 picks and predictions for the 153rd Open Championship at Royal Portrush. So today is Wednesday, the 16th of July. The Open Championship starts tomorrow. I'm sure you can tell by my voice that I'm Northern Irish. So obviously I'm pretty excited for it to be held in Royal Portrush, and I'm fortunate enough to have tickets to be able to go up on Sunday, and we'll find out who wins then. Until then, I want to take you guys through some of my predictions. Just a little bit of fun, nothing too formal here. We're going to be working through some data and try our best to come up with maybe a list of 10, 12 players, and we'll see who we think might be doing well over the next 4 days. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a website called Data Golf. If you haven't heard them, great website. What they do is they take true strokes gained, as they call it. So they factor in the likes of field strength, course difficulty, and they keep your rankings moving on a moving average. So it's quite a bit different to the official world rankings golf, especially as those guys don't really rate live performances. So Data Golf tend to give a bit more of an honest reflection of how players are ranking against each other. So what we can do is we can pull up that site and we can have a wee look. I should have it just down here somewhere. So here we are. Welcome to Data Golf. I'll try and stay out of the overlay. So as soon as we open it, I'm hoping you guys can see this clear enough. It's literally just datagolf.com. Create a wee account. I'm not advocating for betting here. Just a bit of fun. I might put a small bet on myself. I think Data Golf is built towards betting predictions. You have to subscribe. I am not an ambassador for Data Golf at all. I'm not telling you guys to go look at it and bet. I'm just saying it's got some interesting information. I'm a golf fan and I like using the data to assess who may be favourite for picking the trophy up on Sunday. So as we can see, when we look here, they have their Data Golf rank. Of course, Scotty just ranks number 1 on Data Golf and the official world ranking. What's interesting though is you can see this is where Data Golf tend to stand out compared to the official world ranking, when you've got John Rahm ranked 2nd compared to 72nd on the official world rankings. We all obviously know John Rahm is a phenomenal golfer, and to have him that low down simply because he's playing on live, regardless of what your feelings are about the live tour, you have to appreciate that Rahm is one of the very best golfers in the world, and the stats would tend to back that up, especially when he's put ahead of the golden boy there, Rory McIlroy. So they explain their weighting. You can look at the PGA Tour here, major championship weighting. Obviously John Rahm's going to have his live weighting, a major championships, and he probably still has some of his PGA weighting from a few years ago there. So it's interesting to have a look at this list. We can go down through it. Rahm, Scotty, Rahm, McIlroy, Bryson, Fleetwood, Henley, Thomas, Schauffele, and compare that to their world golf rankings, which tend to be quite a bit different. Obviously Rahm is the biggest outlier there, from when it's a 70 place difference. The other guys all seem to have about a 10 place difference or 1 or 2 place difference. So what I'm going to do is I can pull up players here and we can have a look at how they played over the previous Opens. So we can have a look at the previous winners. So we can start off straight away, open up Xander. Now this will show you his skill profile. This is up to date. This is his current skill profile. He's maybe not playing the best this year, and that may be due to his driving accuracy. He's losing shots here. We can see this dotted circle in the middle. That is the average tour player. And then if you're outside of that, these are the strokes gained for that. So you can see he's gaining 1.4 on driving distance compared to the average tour player. Approach is 2.0, so that's outstanding for him, clearly. What we can do then is have a look. This is quite simple. 2024, his best year. Now look at that skill profile from 2024. You know, putting off the charts, around the green off the charts, approach off the charts, driving accuracy above average, driving distance above average. So he was an exceptionally well-rounded player last year, which has obviously contributed to him winning the Open. And this is what we can do. We can scroll down again, go to 2024, look up the Open Championship, and this will give us his strokes gained for that competition. You know, 0.87 for putting around the greens, 0.91 approach. This is what really made the difference here. 2.27 off the tee, so he's gaining shots across the board for a total of 5 strokes gained per round. So pretty much what we're doing is we're looking at this skill profile here for how the Open champion performed in the year that they won it. And what we're going to see is, I've had a wee look at this before, it's quite heavily weighted towards putting around the green and approach. So if we go back to another year, then we'll go through this a wee bit quicker now that we've talked about what we're doing. Pull up Brian Harman. Again, maybe not his best year, as you can imagine 2023 is going to be his best. As you can see, like, the man was a putting machine. So it's heavily skewed towards this bottom left side. Putting around the green, approach, scroll down, get in at 2023 Open Championship, like 3 strokes gained for putting alone for the Open Championship per round is insanity. You can imagine that's not, you know, sustainable, as putting is very streaky across players. And again, just completely solid across the board, nearly, you know, anywhere between half a shot to a shot per round across the board, with putting being exceptional outlier there. Okay, we can go back again then. Let's see, we could go to, we're skipping a player actually. Cam Smith, 2022. So you can see this year actually. Now you can see this year his putting and around the green, we've got that heavy skew down to the left. So you can imagine this man might be featuring. In my predictions, his approach is a little bit down on where it would have been. And we pull this up. There we are, putting off the charts around the green. You know, he's actually better around the green this year. It's the approach. The approach seems to be really crucial. And if not that, you need to be putting super well and around the green to perform at an Open Championship. So this is when he won it in 2022, sorry. Again, we can go down. Open Championship. Putting machine. Again, nearly like Brian Harman there, with 2.87 strokes gained per round from putting alone, and then sitting above average for everything else. So it really seems like if you can be firing on all cylinders for one of those metrics, talking approach around the green or putting, like, you have to be doing exceptionally well and gaining 2 to 3 strokes on the field per round, and then you can just keep it together in and around average, just slightly better. You're going to do really well. I will go back to Colin. This will be the last man we'll have a look at. As you can imagine, the guy's driving accuracy, that's typical Colin, isn't it? His approach this year, very good. Putting and around the greens. So So if we go down to, was it 2021? Because I know this was when COVID messed everything up. The annoying thing is we can't actually see Colin's breakdown for the Open Championship in this year. I'm sure if we go up here and have a look at this, you can imagine it was from approach. He's one of the best iron players in the world. So you can really imagine from 100 to 150 yards that Colin is making up a lot of shots compared to the average tour player. Tell you what, we'll go back one more. Shane Lowry. Let's make it a bit more applicable to Portrush. Not doing too bad this year. Approach. We'll go back. Strangely enough, his best year was actually 2021 when you look at that. Look at those metrics, but that is not when he won the Open Championship. So we will go look at that. Around the green. This is just when Shane was just dominating on short game. Soft hands around the greens. And again, I don't know why they haven't been able to pull up the strokes gained for this tournament, but you can see he was totaling 5 strokes gained. You can imagine purely by his skill profile that a lot of that was around the green play and from putting. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at some players. I did make a list of players who are kind of matching up with this skill profile for this year. Now, understandably, a lot of these players are going to be the highest ranked players on the list, which, it's hard. It's really difficult to avoid that. You can imagine, Scotty's got the profile for everything. Like, it's really simple. He's above average on everything. Driving distance is coming up there as his worst metric, and he's gaining nearly a shot, a stroke per round on the average field. Accuracy, approach is just silly, 3 shots, 3 strokes. Around the green as well. And this is stuff, putting. We know Scotty in the past may struggle sometimes with putting, and there does seem to be a bit of a struggle for American players, especially coming over to the UK, especially in Northern Ireland. The greens here they're not running as fast, I believe. I know at the Scottish, the Genesis there, the greens were a stimp 11 or so, which would be about 2, maybe sometimes 3 less than what they're used to rolling over in the States. So we do find Americans come over here and just leave the putts a wee bit short. We even saw Tommy Fleetwood struggling with that, just leaving putts a foot short. So that's why they like to get over here and play the Scottish Open, try and get a bit more dialed in, get used to the greens, that link style of play. Scotty's obviously going to be on the list though. If this guy's putting well, there's really not a lot you can do to keep this man out of the top 10 or top 5 or from winning it. That's just a fact. He's insane. We all know that. And obviously I'm going to have to put Scotty on that list. Now, Rory, same boat. What's actually very interesting is that when we look at Rory for this year, his accuracy's down. He's probably one of the few players on this list that we're going to see, like, driving distance just dominates. The accuracy does let him down. But I'm super impressed with seeing his putting at 2.1 strokes gained. Recently, his form's very good around the green. He's holding it together. His approach is solid. Rory, back in Northern Ireland, me being Northern Irish, I would love to see it. Realistically, or honestly, I never back Rory. Simply because the thought of, I don't bet more than £10 on a golf or whatever anyway. But the thought of losing money and also Rory losing, which for me would be more of an emotional investment as well, it's a bit too much. So I just I never back Rory. tend to back. I love like Bryson. He's actually not going to be on my list today. For the reason his skewing isn't down here. We can have a quick look at that to explain why Bryson wouldn't be on it. But as you can see there, Rory does have he has what it takes to do very well at the Open. We all know what happened in 2019. Didn't perform very well. I believe there were tears. So I'd say, if he's hitting fairways, and you can probably imagine he's not going to be ripping driver all too often at Portrush. It's not really what's required. So you really expect to see that accuracy go up, and if it does, the rest of the stats are just going to go with it. His approach is going to be better. He's going to be hitting more greens. We just need to rely on great putting form, which he's clearly had already this year. So as I said, we'll have a quick look at Bryson to see why Bryson isn't. So he's just not heavily skewed enough. He's not bad. It's Bryson's putting when he's a robot. We all know that routine. He can really roll the rock, and Bryson could really feature. I just don't really see it happening. He gains a lot of his strokes from driving distance, and I just don't think that's the profile we should really be going for at this Open. So we go back to the list. Professional rankings. As I said, you guys, check this out. It's a great tool. This is the ranking in Data Golf. Tommy, another one on the list for me. You can see skewed heavily down here at the bottom left. That's what we like to see. Putting's maybe let him down a wee bit. I can't remember, where was it? He just came. Did he finish runner-up recently there? I'm not even sure, but sure he fell apart there recently on the PGA Tour. Thought he was going to get that win. We all would have loved to have seen it, and he just couldn't hold it together on the final day. Probably too much pressure. But Tommy has the full package. It's just maybe mentally he tends to, I'd say, lack the belief when you've been on the tour that long and you're not really getting wins under your belt. It would take its toll. What does this man have to do to get over the line against a PGA field? But I just don't think we can rule him out here. Top 20, top 10. Approach solid, around the green solid. We just need this putting to be a wee bit higher, especially at the Open. Accuracy, we can expect Tommy to be hitting fairways. And we're not putting too much weight today on driving distance, or should I say over the next 4 days. Let's get back out to our list. As I said, you see, I'm not putting in everybody. Like Bryson, he doesn't really have the profile. John Rahm, very much so does have the profile, and that's what I'm saying. Like Rahm, he kind of goes under the radar now because he's a live player, and it's just a ridiculous thing to do because he's one of the most dangerous golfers on the planet. What made him so dominant actually in the past, and this is maybe why you haven't seen him feature right at the top, but if we pull up Rahm's 2021 best year, like putting is just off the charts. And as you can imagine, that's just the difference between coming 20th, 30th at an event, and if you're gaining nearly 2 strokes a round, like 8 shots over a 4-day tournament, like that's the difference between first and 20th, 30th. So we kind of need Rahm to be putting. It's a gain, but he's still there. If you compare him to his best year, around the green, he's doing better. Approach pretty much on the money, driving accuracy on the money, driving distance on the money. If Rahm turns up and his putter is hot, anything could happen. He's one of those guys that could just be unstoppable if that happens. So back to the list. I went through all the data. You know, Henley again. He didn't really meet the criteria for me. So have we look here? Justin Thomas. Same story. That profile, that heavily skewed down to the bottom left. We've got putting, around the green, approach. His averages, it's just there. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm the first person to completely understand. I might as well put the top 50 players on a dartboard and throw a dart at their face, because that's who could win this. You know what golf's like, but, you know, we're here. We're just trying to have a bit of fun, see who matches the profile going into Portrush. And JT is right up there. Again, you know, he really dropped off there for a while, and his form's been coming back. You know, he's doing brilliantly. This is still locked on to 2019 there. We can get that look at it. You know, Scottish Open. The guys across the board. You know, this is what we're looking at. We just need. It's just going to come down to somebody being really hot with the putter. Why not JT? You know, why not? So, I didn't want this to be, you know, all the top guys. I wanted to be able to pull in some guys who maybe aren't going to feature. I went down through the best part of 80 players on the top of this list. And this is a guy here, Ben Griffin. He's just creeping up recently. You know, his form is climbing. Look at this chart. You know, the man has turned up out of nowhere. Form impeccable. Yes. Okay, maybe he isn't skewed as heavily down here, but everything just seems to be tight. Driving distance, good. Accuracy's just better than average. But he's got approach play. He's good around the greens. We've got putts dropping. And he's the kind of guy, you know, if you're maybe someone looking, you want to put a couple of quid down on the golf, and you're looking somebody whose odds are just a bit longer, somebody who's a bit out there, Ben Griffin, you know, he could be your man. I'm not saying I know a ton about the guy. I'm not a golf analyst. I'm just a fan. Love watching it. And I just, you know, stumbled across this Data Golf website a while ago. I love looking at it. I love playing about with the models. I don't even pay for it. And, you know, I'm not going to take it that far. I don't subscribe, but shout out to them. Obviously, it's their site. And, you know, just like to use it to maybe have a wee look at maybe, you know, who's going to do well. So, I'd love to see Matt Fitzpatrick do well. I didn't actually put him on my list. You know, I just don't think the approach needs to be just a wee bit better for me. Obviously, you know, Ben Smith, kind of a similar profile. Matt's putting a bit better. I'm a fan of Matt Fitzpatrick. I'm not really sure why, but his form has been down over the last couple of years since he won that US Open in 2022. I did love seeing him win that. So we'll have another look. There's another player. See if I can find him on this list. While we're here, Hatton isn't the guy I was looking for right now, but Hatton is on my list. Tyrrell, you know, I do enjoy Tyrrell. I do enjoy the odd club throw. I love it when he carried his own bag because he said he didn't deserve a caddy. He's very much all of us on a golf course. He gets frustrated. All players get frustrated. You know, Tyrrell just shows it, and I do appreciate it. Maybe beats himself up a wee bit too much. Maybe it's detrimental to his game. But Tyrrell has the profile. Putting around the greens, approach. You know, this is the profile. that we're looking at, if that putting gets out to 1.52, Tyrrell's going to be right up there over the next few days. So, one more man on the list. Let's see if we can find him. Shout out to Goddard. I do actually see him. I do have Patrick Reed on my list, and it's because of like, I get it. Patrick's probably not our guy. You have to be very American to support Patrick here. Yeah, like Patrick Reed, like whether you like him or not, you gotta appreciate like that profile. The skew is down there. You know, maybe obviously he needs a good day putting, but around the greens approach, it's there. I hate to see it, but you know, I can't be biased here and just leave him off my list because I'm not his biggest fan. I'm blanking completely on the man who I want to pull up, so what I will do is I will show my golf list here, and it is Andrew Putnam. Again, if you're looking for somebody who's maybe not the biggest name when it comes to looking on sorry, my thing is frozen here. You know, Andrew Putnam's maybe not a name you're going to be looking at, but we got to put respect where respect is due. Andrew Putnam, we will pull him up here, and this is just the most ridiculous skill profile. Like, I don't know, is this boy hitting a 7-iron off the tee? But putting, around the greens off the charts here. Approach is good. That's heavily skewed to the bottom left. Yes, we would need that approach to come up a bit. Accuracy, great. I haven't seen anybody else looking through these profiles that would be this far behind on driving distance compared to an average field. Not really sure what the man's doing, but as I've already said, I don't think driving distance is going to be overly important over the next few days. So if you're looking at somebody who's a bit further down the list, if you're looking at an outside chance, Andrew Putnam could be your guy. World rankings way down. Data Golf actually have him a good bit higher. They have him 66th compared to 140th on the world rankings. So there it is. I'll pull up my list just so we can round it up there. This is in no order. Everybody here seems to fit that profile. Skewed heavily towards putting around the green approach. Scotty, Colin, Rory, Ram, Fleetwood, Hatton, Thomas, Reed, Cam Smith, Putnam, Ben Griffin. I'm glad I could feature some players on that who aren't, in the top 10 on that list. That would have been a pretty predictable video. I get it. It's super easy just to say, well, Scotty, Rory, Fleetwood. But the reality is, anything can happen. I'm super excited to watch the golf over the next few days. Really excited to get up on Sunday. I've been to the Open the past couple of years. I was over in Hoylake, I was over in Troon. Loved it. It's nice this year just to be able to get up in my own bed, jump on a train and get up to Portrush and come home late at night and sleep in my own bed. And, maybe this is the year, maybe Rory will be fired up again because it's an Open at home. I'd love to see it. As I said, he won't be my pick though. I'll probably, looking at that list there, I put a wee bet down on Tyrrell, top 10. Colin. Could be Colin, Colin Morikawa. Again, I'm not necessarily his biggest fan, but the guy throws darts. So, could be Colin. Could be Scotty. Could blow everybody out of the water. Sure, we never know. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you enjoyed some of the stats there from Data Golf. As I said, go check them out. I'm not 100% sure. You can create an account for free. I'm not sure if you need to be able to look at the skill profiles on the other charts. Pretty interesting if you're into that stuff. I'll try and go live during some of the rounds, maybe in the evening if I can. I'll have a wee watch along on YouTube. Thanks for watching the video. Appreciate it. Probably ran on for quite a while there. But thank you. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed it.